Have you ever had an experience where you felt it was okay to ask for something specifically, right? Like those people are that he will live or something, and it did not work out for you?
Oh, yeah. I ask for that all the time. The worst thoughts that I had were, I just want this to be over. I don't care which way it goes. There were times I prayed just for it to end, that Heavenly Father would either take him or heal him. But I couldn't deal with that middle ground anymore. That not knowing was that piece that just absolutely crushed me and killed me.
Welcome to Unreasonable Autonomy. My name is Sarah Grace. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs and innovators who refuse to settle. Here we dive deep into raw, real conversations with boundary pushers who have pursued seemingly impossible ideas and yet have achieved unreasonable results, whether that's in their faith, relationships, health, politics, yes, even business. All of those conversations are happening right here, right now. So let's buckle up, because this isn't about playing it safe. Unreasonable ideas, unstoppable results. Let's go. All right. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys. I have a new friend. I want to welcome the amazing Preston Anderson to the podcast. Glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been in awe of you online.
Oh, you are so nice. And you are just like the most epic, like cheerleader, supporter, connector, all the things. Like your energy, I'm like, he belongs in the room. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but he belongs here. I just want to get to know this guy. So thank you for being here so much.
Yeah, no, this is amazing.
So we've already listened to the intro. All of you, whether you're on YouTube or you're listening on the podcast, you know about all of his amazing things. But here's where Preston and I are aligned. We both believe that like taxes are pretty much fraud, right? It's pretty much an act of fraud. And so if that's something you don't really agree with, my invitation to you is to stay. Like actually stay and entertain this idea, because it may just spark some growth in you and some opportunities for you to keep more of the money you make, and also just kind of change your perspective on how the US is going right now. But the way that I know Preston is basically we are brand new friends. Like we have been friends for maybe 3 or 4 weeks total, right? Somehow we missed each other at Funnel Hacking Live, which is a total crime. And we're going to have to solve that at some point. But I just started to notice that like he knows everybody that I know. And he thinks everybody that I think is cool too. And so we just had to become friends some way. And then we found we had a ton in common as far as like, we are passionate about making marriages strong. We also believe the government is frauding us with taxes, like all the things. Like we found that we had a lot of things in common. But really one of the things that I love about you is when I imagine a CPA, someone who works in finance, you are the opposite of what I imagine. Am I the first one to tell you that?
No.
Like I think of a CPA and I think like real buttoned up, and I think like we obey the rules and we count the numbers, and then I haunt you every day of the month because you haven't done your like whatever you call it when you're supposed to say what your bookkeeping is. I don't even know what it's called, right? All that kind of stuff. Like that's what I imagine. And you are the guy that is, yes, a CPA, but you've got a secret project going on with software that's going to rival QuickBooks. You've also you've done the mission thing. You have an incredible marriage. You are not all suit and tie right now. You are wearing a shirt that says Psycho Bunny, for those of you who are not on YouTube. Like, tell me how in the world you got into the world of being a CPA with your type of personality.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to tell you a quick story about when I was in my master's program getting a master's in tax. Okay. It was in 2013. And it was actually the 100-year anniversary of the tax code. And my teacher literally threw a party for the tax code and was celebrating the party. I was the only person in the back saying, I think this is kind of gross. Can we get rid of the tax code?
No way. Like you felt that way for a long time.
Oh, I have. So I grew up knowing 2 things. One, I dislike the government, and I was going to do something in math. My dad actually worked for the government, and hearing him, you will never meet somebody who distrusts the government more than somebody who spent an entire career in it. And so I grew up with this little birdie in my ear talking about the awfulness of the bureaucracy. And the second thing, I knew I was going to do something with math. I was doing calculus as a second grader. I was a little advanced. I learned to read in 3rd grade, so I was like a little imbalanced. But I thought there was more math in accounting. The math is like add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Accounting is law with numbers. That's all it is. So
So I'm kind of astonished that you grew up with somebody in the government, but that you decided to like go into the realm of fulfilling what the government asks us to do. Why didn't you just like hightail it and teach business, math, calculus, whatever?
So what I do is not try to help. So there are accountants who like work for the IRS, it almost feels like. I view the IRS as my opposition. And like that party where everybody was celebrating the tax code, I was like vomiting in the corner. My goal with every client is, hey, how can we use the tax code for their benefit, not for like, I'm not working for the IRS. I don't work for the IRS. I view myself in 100% opposition to the government, to the IRS, to helping my clients like keep more of their money instead of giving it to the biggest mafia in the world.
Shocking. Oh my gosh. Okay, we've got to go into this. So bridge the gap for those that do not know you yet to this point, right? Bridge a gap in between getting a master's in tax and then now 2025, right? You're like kind of a serial entrepreneur. You've like had 6 different careers, all the things, like bridge the gap. How did it all?
So, oh man, the past 20 years has been a little nuts. I graduated with my bachelor's in accounting I think it was 2007. And I started working, my first tax season was actually 2004 while I was in school. And I worked tax seasons until I graduated. I worked for somebody else until 2013. 2013, I realized that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a mill and just do 1,000 tax returns every year.
Yeah.
So I started my own business in 2013. And at first I didn't know what to do, how to do it. And so I just did what I was doing before. I basically turned myself into a little mill and was just doing a ton of returns. I didn't quite know that gap. And so in 2015, how I was growing my business at the time was like through BNI groups and through chamber, just networking, getting out and meeting people.
Yeah.
I'm really good at meeting people.
You are so good at it.
And in 2015, my son was born with some congenital heart defects. And we were in the hospital essentially for 2 years. And during that time, I got kicked out of all the groups I was in. And it was the biggest blessing. I wasn't showing up because my son was at the hospital and I was like either depressed or at the hospital.
Yeah.
But it could not have been a bigger blessing. I ended up finding a guy that like coached accountants on how to get leads online. And so he taught me every black hat method out there, scraping stuff on LinkedIn and doing stuff that was so immoral. And I'm like, and teaching me these like hard, like pressure tactics for sales. I used them all and I felt so gross using them until I met Russell. I found Russell's community and I started learning there. And I'm like, okay, this feels much more aligned. I learned from Robbie Summers and his like questions. It was like, all right, let's get you to where you want to be, not like pressure you into the sales, but like, let's help you achieve your desires and your goals.
Yeah. And
so I sold that first business after my son was in the hospital. He was in there for 2 years. He's fine now. He just turns 10 this year, which blows my mind. Running around, little rugrat. He's the life of every party. But from there we started. After I sold that first business, I started this business, and today we work with like just a ton of entrepreneurs, people doing in the digital space. So I know everybody. I know most of them. I've been around Inner Circle. I've been around just tons of different masterminds and learned from Taylor and Traffic and Funnels and those guys. And I've been in grants stuff, and I've been in all these different online spaces. And I just meet people wherever I go, and I try to lead with value before anything, and lead with friendship first.
Incredible. And that is such a breath of fresh air as an entrepreneur who is in the world of pitching, certainly, and selling and leads, and like all that stuff is so necessary for a business. And often we forget that, like, oh, wait, these are people that if I like saw at an event, I would not be ashamed to say hello. Like, these are people I'm going to fulfill all my promises to, right? That we want to run business that way. And I'm so grateful that's been such a priority for you. I want to dive into something really random, right? But it has been spinning in my brain. You and I share the same faith. True?
Yeah, true.
Okay. You went on a mission. You're considered a Mormon or a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I am as well. I went on a mission to Detroit. We've connected on this. And I am fascinated because one of the things that our faith really dives into is that we obey the law of the land, right? Regardless. Aha, we're going there. I saw your face. We are going there. We obey the law of the land, whether that is government, and I would include the tax code in this way. Now, I am incredibly aggressive with my taxes. You probably know the person that has taught me how to pay the least amount of taxes possible. But I want to know how you have solidified that in your mind as far as I don't love the government. I want to pay the least amount of taxes possible. And I have a faith base that I obey the law of the land.
Yeah, we use the code. Well, like we use the law. We're not going around it. We're not circumventing it. We're using the laws that they've already set inside. And so we might be really aggressive with them, but everything is within the law, in my opinion. And so I'm not teaching people how to commit fraud. I'm not teaching people how to do anything of that nature. Instead, we're just trying to use every last little thing that they have already established that is legal. And we use that to get people to help them keep as much of their money as possible.
And have you ever felt like you've wanted to cross the line on that because you're so angry? Like what? Tell me about that.
I think the first time I saw somebody write $1 million check.
What? Tell me.
Yeah. So I had a client that was trading and did really well and wrote $1 million check, and I'm like, this is just bananas. So, I mean, I've seen people write $4 million checks for taxes and stuff. And it's just, when you see that, it's like you're writing a check for multiple lifetimes of work in 1 year.
Oh my gosh.
It is crushing to see. The first time I saw somebody write a really, really, really big check, had we done, I wasn't involved in the planning at all. I looked at it afterwards. Had I been involved a couple of years prior, we could have saved them like $3 million or something like that. Something just stupid. And so recently I helped a woman, she sold her business and she's going to get $6.2 million tax free. And it's 100% within the code, 100% legal. And so it's like, we're just trying to use what they give us to help everybody keep what they can.
So I love your lens just around life and around, morals and those kinds of things. What kind of lens do you invite entrepreneurs to view the tax code through?
For one, I don't think they should be scared of paying tax. Something that I see so often is entrepreneurs become often afraid of paying tax, and they become so afraid of paying tax, they stop making money.
Interesting.
Make the most money you possibly can. I look at Elon Musk. A couple of years ago, he paid $12 billion in tax or something ridiculous, like 12 or 13 billion. But it allowed him the next year to buy Twitter. Right? He didn't have $44 billion sitting around, but he was able to collectively with a bunch of other people put down $44 billion. Without that transaction, he wouldn't have had the cash to do it unless he had borrowed it. But like that one transaction allowed him to have, if I were to tell you you owe $12 billion in tax, but at the end of the day, you're able to keep $30 billion in cash, like, hey, sign me up, right?
It's a no-brainer. So it's not this lens of like, I don't want to pay anything at all. It's how do I pay what I need to pay in order to achieve what I'm really trying to achieve? Yeah.
So I look at it like Grant Cardone. I read one of his books, and one of the things that he talked about was you want to spend 90% of your time growing the business. You want to spend 90% of time on increasing revenue, 10% of the time on decreasing expenses. And of that 10%, you want to spend like 50 to 75% on lowering your taxes, because that's often that biggest expense. But you want to like grow your business, make as much money as you possibly can. Let me do the tax planning on the back end, but like make as much money as possible. Like if you go from, if I help an entrepreneur that's making $400,000 and I help them save 100% of their tax, okay, cool. They walk away with 400 grand. But if they spend all of that time and effort instead of saving 100% on 10xing their business, and they pay the maximum rate, right? They're paying 30%. They walk away with 2.8 million instead of 400. It's like make more money. Just go out, crush it. Don't be afraid of the tax. Like so many people are so afraid of tax that they stop pushing, and that's a silly way to think.
And it's interesting too, because it's almost like your young self that was always like, I know I'm going to do something with math, right? It's like all of these decisions are math-based, right?
Yeah, that's where my head goes all the time. I'm always thinking I'm running the numbers. I'm always running the numbers. Like, all right, and like my goal with my clients is to basically help them keep not just one individual year, but over their lifetime. How can we help you keep as much money in your pocket over your lifetime? And some years that's paying a little bit more. I had a client where we actually had him pay about $5,000 more one year. And by doing that, it saved him 75 the following.
Oh my gosh.
And so you want to like take years, not keep everything in a silo, but look at the trends, look at how things are playing out. And yeah, so that's kind of my perspective.
It's good. And tell me your perspective on how complicated the tax code is. Like the fact that we do need to hire you or do need to hire my guy. Like, is that just the price that we pay for living in such a well-developed country? Or is this a sign of the government being a jerk?
No, it's actually a sign of companies like Intuit hiring lobbyists to make the tax code more complicated.
No.
It's a sign of TurboTax. They make a lot of money because they sell services to it. Legitimately, companies like that are paying lobbyists to keep the tax code complicated, and it's gross.
So you think it could be way simpler and we could still get the same tax breaks and opportunities? And
I believe income tax is theft. 100%, no question. I personally am in favor of a fair tax. I would love if I was out of a job. If the government put me out of a job tomorrow and got rid of the entire tax code, 95% of my revenue would go away in a heartbeat, and I would be the happiest person in the country.
Really? That's what you would put in favor of. So make some predictions for us. At the time of this recording, Trump has been elected president, right? So what are taxes going to look like under Trump versus what they would have looked like under Kamala?
So Trump's tax cuts from 2016 are set to expire at the end of this year. Had Kamala been president, they would have expired and definitely gone up 100%, no question. Things like the qualified business QBID, qualified business income tax deduction or income deduction, that would have gone away. So like entrepreneurs get a 20% deduction based off of profits. That would have gone away. So every entrepreneur, 20% increase in tax immediately. That I'm going to guess is going to be extended. From everything I'm hearing, like currently corporate rates are 21%. Trump's looking at dropping them even further down to 15. And everything across the tax code my guess will either be extended or better when all is said and done. I don't think they're going to get no tax on tips across the line. I don't think they're going to get something like that. I think next year they'll bring back like 100% bonus depreciation. They'll bring back, because Trump wants to use the tax code to stimulate the economy. Because I don't know if you know this, the tax code is not about increasing revenue to the government. It's about controlling the population. And it's about it's incentives and disincentives. And so if they want you to do something, they give you a benefit for it. If they don't want you to do something, they penalize it, right? So they don't want you to pull money from your IRA, so they give you a penalty. They want you to hire or get a 401k plan for your employees, so they give you a credit for it, right? And so it's not just a deduction, but they give you a credit. And so essentially they make it free. And so the tax code 100% is about incentives and disincentives.
Oh my goodness. I'm like, do you do this with your kids? How do you parent?
Yeah, this is how I parent.
We're like, this sounds a lot like my parenting life. Incentives, disincentives. Let's do this, right? It's all math, Preston. It's all math. I love this. Okay, I love your predictions on the tax code, and I think bottom line is you've got to hire someone to do it, right? You've got to hire someone that is in the weeds. The guy that I hire is just obsessed with the tax code. And I'm like, I'm so glad that you are, because I am not. I just need you to tell me the things I need to know about it and how I need to shuffle things around. So grateful that there's people like you. I want to take a little bit of a shift into when your son was sick. Okay. Yeah. So set the stage for me of when you found out, and then I want to dive a little bit further into that story. So when did you find out he was sick? What happened? Like, set the stage.
All right, so I'm going to cry during this. Like, I can't get through this stuff without crying.
Damon Burton cried, you can cry. Deal?
What's that?
Damon Burton cried, James Curran cried, you can cry too.
Cool. So yeah, 2015, we were going in for a 20-week appointment. My wife had already been going to the doctor, and she just kept telling them something wasn't right. She wasn't feeling right. She was feeling something is off. And for the first 20 weeks, they're like, it's in your head. You're crazy. Don't worry about it. And she's like, no, something is wrong. My body's not feeling right. And at that 20-week appointment, she was basically confirmed her suspicions. We were going to do the whole gender reveal thing. We already had a boy. We already had a girl. This is our third kid. We were planning on having more, but sometimes life doesn't go as you planned.
Sure.
But at that 20-week appointment, we were like expecting to get a little envelope or something to take to where we're going to do the gender reveal. And instead they came out and said, so you're going to have a boy and he's going to have heart surgery. And we kind of looked at him, the doctor, and like, what? And we were in shock. We didn't really know what to say. We were like, my daughter had like a little kidney issue and it was cleared up before she was born. I'm like, well, will it be like that? And they're like, no, this won't be like that. And so for the next 20 weeks, we saw conservatively 3 doctors a week. And we're trying to figure out where he was going to be born, who was going to do the surgeries. And we found the most wonderful man in the world. His name is Dr. Ilbawi in Chicago. And he had performed like 20,000 surgeries at that point when we found him. And we're like, that's a lot. And it was his life's mission to heal kids with heart issues. And when we met him, we asked him the question, like, why should we work with you and have you do the surgery over another doctor? And his response was, because I treat every child that's on my table as if they're my own. And then we spoke to his staff and they're like, he doesn't just say it, he lives it. And we truly saw it. He did 3 open heart surgeries on my son. The first 2 were planned. The first one was at a week old. And then he spent the month in the hospital. And then he was home for a few months. And then he had his second heart surgery. And at the second heart surgery, it went well, but afterwards, everything just blew up. We were sent home after a week. We were home for 36 hours, and we're like, something's not right. He was vomiting. He wasn't good. And so
he's brand new.
What's that?
He's brand new at this point.
He was 9 months old.
9 months old.
And so we took him to the ER, and they wouldn't let him in at first. They're like, so he doesn't seem off, but so they kept him in the ER for like 15 hours. And we're like freaking admit us already. And they wouldn't admit us. Finally, when they did, he threw up in the ER after like 12 or 15 hours. They admitted him. The second he got up there were 20 doctors surrounding him because he was crashing. They got him to a point where he was doing well. And then he developed something called ARDS, and his lungs basically failed him. And that was the day they called us and said, hey, come say goodbye because he won't be here tomorrow. And
did they came in and they said, this is it.
Yeah. So we got to the hospital that day and we weren't met by doctors. We weren't met by nurses. We were met by the clergy. And man, that's never a good sign at the hospital.
No.
Yeah. You don't want to be met by the clergy. You don't want to be met by somebody there to like comfort you. And he ended up pulling through for 3 weeks. We didn't know if he was going to live or not. Wow. This story is 9 years old and it still hurts. But yeah, after 3 weeks of just literally living at the hospital, having blood transfusion after blood transfusion, and just trying to keep this kid alive. After 3 weeks, the doctors stopped talking to us. They would not talk to us for those 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, the doctors came to us and says, how does it feel to not have the sickest child in the ER anymore? Or not in the ER, but in the PICU. And we're like, you never told us he was. And anyway, so from there forward, it was another year of like in and out of the hospital. He never really spent more than a couple of weeks home, but he was just in and out. And most days, that first day was about 3 months. And then from there, generally it was about a month that we were in the hospital when we would go. One day during tax season, this was in my first business, my wife called me and she just was dying on the phone, just in tears. And she was telling me how he was going to have a trach and they were going to have to, like, his entire life was going to change from that moment forward. And so I called all my clients for the next 3 days and I said, I will see you guys later. I'll figure it out. We'll schedule something later. And I left. And in the middle of tax season, I just took my wife out. We forgot our lives. We forgot our problems. And it was amazing. It was an amazing 4 days of just forgetting everything. But the day before the trach surgery was scheduled, his heart stopped. And they had to revive him. And they said, okay, well, the trach's not going to fix that. So they ended up going in and doing an exploratory heart surgery and fixing everything. And literally from that moment forward, he's been just on this upward climb. And then during COVID, COVID was the best thing in the world for him. All of his meds fell off. He was on oxygen for 4 years, 5 years. That fell off. All of those things just all of a sudden started falling off. And like you see him today and runs around and it's like he's a normal kid and nobody really knows any different. He's just this happiest, craziest little kid you'll ever see. So.
Well, and I appreciate your candidness with the story. And I want to zoom in on a couple of moments that you experienced of what is it like for a parent to watch their child need to be revived?
I don't think you can feel more helpless. I had to literally put my son's life in God's hands and in the doctor's hands. And I could do nothing. There was literally nothing I could do. One of the things that I heard a lot during this period was, I'm going to pray for your son and he's going to be okay. And I'm going to tell you, that was, I think, the thing I hated hearing the most.
Ooh, why?
I saw so much death in that hospital. I saw other kids that didn't make it. I saw other kids that they didn't get the chance to survive. And hearing that, if somebody prayed for my son and then he didn't make it, if I had put my faith in that, my faith would have been broken and shattered. And seeing the death that we saw, I had to learn to be okay with any outcome. I had to learn to be okay with. So we read a book called But If Not, and it's about Daniel and the three. I can't remember their names.
Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego.
Thank you.
I'm with you.
Anyway, we're going to put our trust in the Lord that everything will be okay. But if not, we'll continue to trust. We'll continue to have that faith. And so, like, I was a broken person during that time. Like, there's no question. I had to learn how to, like, get out of bed in the mornings again. I had to learn how to live. After he came home, I fell apart. I stopped getting up. I stopped talking to people. I took a personality test and I was an introvert. And I'm like,
yeah.
And so I literally had to rebuild myself from the ground up, and I hired coaches to help me. I tried going to therapists and they didn't help me, but coaching did. So a guy named Bob Gardner, like, literally helped me turn my life around. One of my best friends at this point, Bart Miller, has, like, just so many things have happened since then that I was in such a deep hole in depression. Like, I couldn't find my own way out. And I had to basically lean on others to pull me out, to help me.
Well, and I want to go into this with you as someone that you've gone through such intense grief. I cannot imagine a bigger nightmare than watching your own child suffer and wax and wane. And just like you said, that feeling of helplessness, it is my biggest nightmare, right? That you have experienced. And you talk a lot about how here are some of the worst things that people can say to you, right? That put you on shaky ground in those. Go ahead.
And it's something that, like, when people say that, they think they're being helpful. They really do.
Sure.
And if I hadn't seen it, like, firsthand myself, I would have probably said similar things. But seeing so much death, seeing parents just crumble I don't know how to describe that hospital other than hell. Like,
right.
It was a literal hell on earth for us. And it wasn't an inner city hospital, but it was pretty darn close. And it was a magnet hospital for the area.
Yeah.
And I can't even describe the stuff we saw.
The worst of the worst.
The worst of the worst. But hearing people say, like, I'm going to pray for you and they're going to be okay and my faith will make it fine. Like, if I put my faith in that and then I lost my son, like, I would have been shattered. I was already shattered, but, like, I don't know that if I put my faith in that type of stuff, that I would have been able to come back with my faith intact.
Have you ever had an experience where you felt it was okay to ask for something specifically, right? Like those people are, that he will live or something, and it did not work out for you?
Can you ask that question again?
Yeah. Have you ever had an experience, whether you're praying and you just feel like this is an okay thing to ask for? I want my son to live, or bless him to be healed, or whatever that may be, and it did not work in your favor?
Oh, yeah. I ask for that all the time. The worst thoughts that I had were, I just want this to be over. I don't care which way it goes.
Really? You just wanted it to be over?
Wow. Yeah.
Because of why an end?
Seeing something, like, having an experience where a child's in the hospital for a day, it sucks. There's no question. It's the worst. Seeing your son for 2 years, not knowing whether he's going to live or not. The extended pain of that, I could no longer handle. I wanted to leave this world. Like I literally prayed. There were times I prayed just for it to end. That Heavenly Father would either take him or heal him. But I couldn't deal with that middle ground anymore. That not knowing was like that piece that just absolutely crushed me and killed me. And I think that was but at the end of the day, I look back and every good thing in my life came from that moment, those hard moments, those like being torn down just to the core. There was nothing left. And I literally, like, Heavenly Father's like, all right, we're just going to strip it all away. And I was a shell, just an absolute shell. But yes, there were times I prayed for things that, I don't know, I felt like they were okay to pray for at the time, but I don't know. I didn't receive them.
And it is such shaky ground, right? This is where faith gets really complicated. And you so beautifully put it by saying like the middle ground is the worst.
Yeah.
The middle ground is the worst. And so what was your relationship with God like during the middle ground?
I ignored him as much as I could.
Tell me.
I kind of just, I still would go to church and I would still pray, but like, everything that I said was empty. It was just, there was nothing there. I didn't have it in me.
You didn't have it in you because you felt like he wasn't there. You didn't believe. It felt unfair.
My hope, the longer it went on, the less hope I had. And I wouldn't say like I stopped believing. I just stopped caring.
Stopped caring. And you'd mentioned earlier on, you said, look, during this experience, I was absolutely depressed.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I was a shell. And I think sometimes we put that in a box and we say, I feel so bad for Preston. He's in a hard situation and he's depressed. And we don't recognize that you are a husband at that time and you are a father of 2 other kids at this time. And so as you look back on those experiences, that the temptation can be, oh my gosh, I was so depressed. I was so distant. I wasn't pulling my weight. I wasn't whatever. Now that you're more in hindsight of that experience, what has that darkness done for your family?
Everything. Like, how do I put this? Like I said, every good thing in my life today came out of that experience.
How is that possible?
Yeah, no, for sure. The first thing that happened was I got kicked out of BNI. I got kicked out of the networking groups. And the one place where I was like growing my business stopped and I couldn't use that anymore. And it forced me to meet somebody, my first coach, and he introduced me to a world that I had no idea about, into a world of online marketing and online stuff that like I didn't even know existed at the time.
And this is Russell?
This was not Russell.
Not Russell. Okay.
No. So his name was Andrew Argue, but I don't include that. To be honest, he's not somebody I really respect or trust.
Okay. So editor, delete.
Yeah.
Delete everything prior to that. Okay. Yeah. So you meet a coach that introduces you to this whole idea of online marketing because this other door had been shut.
Yep.
And
yeah. And so all of a sudden I learned about online marketing and it just introduced me to a world that I never knew of. And at the same time, somebody gave me Marketing in Your Car podcast. And so that's when I started learning about Russell. And then during that whole time, everything in my life was falling apart. My relationship with my kids, my relationship with my wife was like hanging by a thread. She actually kicked me out of the house at one point because I was just a shell. Like I was not in a good place. My relationship with God was broken. Like my relationship with myself was broken. I was at a conference with some of these accounting guys and I let them into my like inner self-talk and they're like, dude, that needs to change. Nobody can say anything to me that I've not said to myself. I would just like literally berate and beat the living snot out of myself every day. And so my relationship with myself was broken. All of these different relationships were broken. The one relationship that was working was my relationship with my business and my clients. And so I decided to sell the business.
Preston, this makes no sense. Wait, what? On for dear life.
I know. So I sold the business in 2018. Okay. And it was like I had to rebuild everything else. In 2019, 18, like right at that same time that I sold the business, I started running, and I was outside, and I ran a marathon in 2019. And doing that, spending that much time with myself and listening to guys like Zig Ziglar and Earl Nightingale and Les Brown, listening to them on a daily basis. The one person I will say who literally I feel like reached his hand into hell and pulled me out was Tom Bilyeu. I listened to him on a daily basis. And I made sure to listen to Tom every friggin' day, because like everybody else I really liked listening to, but Tom was the person I felt like spoke to my soul. And Tom was the person who literally helped me like begin to live again. He was the one who, like, listening to him, I could actually get out of bed in the mornings. And it was like I started actually like being a normal human again. It was great.
Can I ask you a question? Can I interrupt you? I know that's really rude of me as a host. You're an anomaly in a way, and I have some very personal experiences, so I'm not going to like drop names here. But sometimes trauma, we'll call it trauma with what happened with your son, it destroys everything.
Yeah, it
right?
does.
And like you're saying, like so many things were kind of broken. You have since, now hindsight, figured out how to repair those things, and you're with your wife and you're with your kids, and you've done the $200,000 deals. We can talk about that later. Like you've done all the things, right? And that's been repaired. But I've also seen car accidents or illness or events like this that absolutely destroy people.
Oh yeah.
And marriages and families. And so my question for you is, I do believe that God answers us through other people. And you have specifically mentioned that I found coaches, and I found Tom Bilyeu, and I listened to Les Brown, and I had all these words and people in my kind of head. And I think those people have a massive impact when we are at our low.
Oh yeah.
And so how do you guide people to know who to listen to? Because you could get real bizarre real quick.
No doubt.
In those kinds of situations. So like guide us.
Okay, so real fast about my situation, I was feeling guilty because all of my solutions, I kept trying to go to church to find solutions, and they weren't there. And so I found all of these solutions outside of church.
Did you
And
just
I'm
say
like,
that out loud?
What's that?
Did you just say that out loud?
Yeah, no doubt, right? Like at church, they're like, just keep praying, like read your scriptures. And I'm like, but I feel like crap and I want to die. And they're like, well, stop. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. Tom Bilyeu, like, he spoke to my soul. And what I learned, at first I felt really guilty about it. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm getting better. But like, I'd go to church and I'd say something in Sunday school, and people were like, look at me with like I had 3 heads. All of these people, though, I think you definitely need to find people that speak to you. What I learned was, yeah, they're outside of church culture, but not outside the gospel at all in any way, shape, or form.
Ooh, very good.
And so, but there are definitely people that will speak to your soul. For me, it was Tom Bilyeu. It was Zig Ziglar. It was, honestly, Tom was like the number one. I listened to The Strangest Secret. I've listened to that probably 50 to 100 times. I don't even know at this point. There was a 30-day period where I listened to it every single day, all 30 something minutes of it. And so I had this constant stuff going in my head that I was trying to just drown out all of the negativity and replace it with all of this positivity. And it was who I am naturally. And I had lost it. And so all of these voices, though, like one of the things Zig Ziglar says is listen to me 26 times or however many times, because then you'll start to have conversations with yourself, and then you're speaking to yourself, and the words are your own. They're not mine. They're now yours. And so all of these words became mine. Tom Bilyeu might not be right, or Zig Ziglar might not be right for somebody, but like there is someone that is out there that is. Like for me, I was listening to like compilations of people, and Tom was always the person that of that compilation that I'm like, that's the guy that's speaking to my soul. And so it took me a month or so to like figure out actually who it was. And then once I figured it out, every single day I probably listened to Tom Bilyeu every single day for probably 2 years.
Wow.
Maybe. So
I hope he listens to this. Go, Tom.
I've met Tom before. He is just the most generous, incredible person I've ever met in my life.
Well, and anyone that has not dove into Tom's world knows that his was not a smooth road, right? Like, oh, his father-in-law, oh, all the things, right? Like there are stories that he's very open about. I'm not like sharing secrets here, right? And so this is so interesting that you talked about how Tom saved me. Well, there were also people that saved Tom, right? And I think about the doctor in Chicago that saved your boy, right? And all of this is centered around that all of us are called to save other people, right? And this is where we miss the mark sometimes with God, right? That like Christ is the Savior, Christ is here to save,
Yeah.
and how his pattern of doing it is through other people. Okay, go.
So there's the scripture, like we're all saviors on Mount Zion.
Yeah.
How beautiful are the feet upon the like the Savior's. And it's like the Savior, yes, he saves our soul 100%, but there are other, we can do the same for other people. I had an experience with a man who, he had an audit for something I didn't prepare, but like for some sales tax issues, and ended up owing hundreds of, and like one day he was looking at his life insurance and this tax bill and thinking his family would be better off. And then his words, like my words came to him. And he's like, dude, I'm alive because of you.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, I'm crying again, man.
This is what this is for. Yeah. Well, and I just think about, again, the pattern of the doctor and then the person that saved Tom and then Tom saves you. And like, this is how God's work is done, right? Yeah. This is how it is. And I love how Russell often just calls it the call of adventure, right? We all have, and that's a very optimistic way to say it, right? That there feels like this call to adventure to do something great. And you have been saved because of other people answering that call. And when you look at your life now, you know, March of 2025, what do you feel your calling is?
So every morning I get on a call and I say my purpose in this life is to be a light. That the world is brighter because I'm here. And that's it. At the end of the day, that's it.
Are you going to put that on your tombstone? I'm a light.
I should. I
should. That is really, really beautiful. I love that so much. And do you ever find that sometimes we overthink what that call is, right? Where it's sort of like, oh, what I've been asked to do, it's not spiritual enough in nature. I'm a CPA or I'm a webinar designer, whatever it is. Like, talk to me.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like I am a CPA. I do taxes for a living, but my goodness gracious, like taxes lead into a whole world of emotions. When you're dealing with people's money, like I have had so many conversations so far outside of taxes and money that it's a gateway into other things. And so my calling is not helping people with money. It's not like, yes, I'm very good at it. I love it, but that's not my calling. My calling is that I'm a light. I help people. The world is brighter because I'm here. And that's it. It doesn't need to be super complex, but it just like this man that is alive today, in part because of our conversations, like the world is brighter because he's here too.
Right. And man, if you'd never taken the step to, you know, figure out how to help people with their money and done all those things, you never would have been able to have those conversations. People need a reason to be in the room with you, right? Through a skill set, through a vehicle, whatever you want to call it. I promised you that I'm going to invite your wife to come on here because she has her own story to tell. In a short form version, what has it been like to be married to her?
I'm constantly feeling like I'm trying to catch up. So when we were going through everything with Micah, she had her crap together. I was falling apart. I think she was falling apart too, but like it did not feel like it. Afterwards, we hired a coach to like, and I went from like, I felt like, oh, I'm starting to like crawl. I'm like getting out of bed and like doing, and it took me like 6 months to like make any progress. My wife gets on 4 calls with him and is like, oh, sweet, I'm running now. I'm like, let me catch you.
Yes.
And she started a cookie business, teaching women how to make cookies. And she's taught 70,000 women how to make cookies. And again, all of that started because of Micah. Like she started it as a stress reliever because of my son in the hospital. And then all of a sudden, like she launches this business. And so I feel like I'm constantly trying to catch up to her because she's just so incredible. And she just takes action. And yeah, she says, anyway, yeah, she's incredible.
Well, we'll have her on and dive deeper into her story a little bit. And I think one of the commonalities that as I've interviewed you and I've interviewed Damon, I've interviewed Cody and I've interviewed James and from the men's perspective, right, on what it's like to build a business as a man, that something that is so unique about you is that you view your wives as partners. And okay, go. I'm not.
No, yeah, for sure. Like I'm my wife's biggest cheerleader. Like there is nobody on this earth that can cheerlead my wife like I can. She's got a little bit of, I'm not gonna say notoriety, but we've had a chance to like speak on Russell's stage, and kind of in part because I'm behind her with a bullhorn talking about how amazing she is, and so I'm always tooting her horn. I'm always trying to just be the first to congratulate and to like just heap my praise on her success.
What do you think has allowed you guys to remain together and close and supportive of each other after such a trauma?
We've allowed ourselves to grow. When she stopped trying to fix me and allowed me to grow, and then I stopped trying to, what was I trying to do to her? I wasn't trying to like make her grow, but like I gave her space. I gave her lots and lots and lots of space. And when I would upset her, at first I was like a puppy dog, and I was like I like begged for her attention, begged for her approval, and it wasn't working. I was like subservient to her. It didn't work. But when we allowed each other to allow each other space and to grow, when she stopped trying to fix me, when she stopped trying to like force me into being a better person, but instead worked on herself, and when I did the same for me, we were allowed, like, there's the saying, it's like you have Christ in the center and you're both at the points of a triangle. The closer you get to Christ, the closer you get to each other. And when we stopped trying to come over and smack the other person for doing something stupid, which she was generally doing to me because it was generally me doing something stupid. When that stopped and she just loved on me, like that's when we both started to grow. And we've just, one of my favorite sayings of hers is, oh my gosh, that just totally left my head.
You're okay.
What on earth?
I can ask you a follow-up if you can't remember.
That was weird. It just like, it was there and then it just disappeared. Anyway, sorry. That was all.
No, it's so good. Well, and I just love let me start that over. You're good. I think often we see entrepreneurs like you, and especially you're a team, with your wife, and we see the positivity and we see your ability to network and we see your ability to command a stage and we see your ability to, storytell and cheer people on. And we just think, yeah, well, like that's their gift and their life's been easy, right? I've seen this similar thing with Robbie Summers, right? I've had a conversation with him about this. So like that it's just been easy for you and you're just an optimist. And so I just so appreciate how you have richly fed us today, showing that this type of life of like optimism and go and green light and partnership, like it is something that is fought for, period.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So like when I sold the business in 2018, I had to start over from scratch. I had like a couple of clients that were like, hey, we're not letting you go. But for the most part, I was starting almost from dead zero. And I had to fight for those relationships with my wife, with my God, with myself, and then with my kids. And then once I got those like actually fixed, and I'm not going to say like nothing was fixed overnight, but over like the more effort I put in and like the more they could see me change and me trying to like step up and be a better husband, be a better father. Like the more they saw it, the more that they could trust me. And then as that started to flourish, then I could start to add the business stuff in. And then the more I've been able to like jump with my family, the more my business has flourished. And then like now I'm building a team and now I'm like letting them make the decisions, and the more trust I place in them, the more I'm able to go out and grow. And yeah, it's you have to learn to like, the better those relationships are, the better everything else gets.
And isn't it so shocking when I remember my first experience at Funnel Hacking Live, where I was just so hungry for one single tactic that would work, right? This was like 6 years ago, I swear. But I remember walking in and then at the end being like, wait, like 80% of it was like mindset and like, I can do this. And I left pumped and also like, okay, I know Russell knows what he's doing. Like, what is he telling me, kind of a thing? And I feel like you are such a prime example of saying you can learn all the tactics, you can learn all the frameworks, you can learn all the things. But if you haven't figured out your marriage, if you haven't figured out your relationship with deity, if you haven't figured those things out, everything will be harder.
100%. Yeah. My coach that I have right now, his name's Bart Miller. You've had him on. He is just honestly one of my favorite people in the world. My business has quadrupled since I've been with him.
Wow.
And what he's allowed me to do is get out of my own way. He works on me continually. I have had a lot of reason to be depressed over the past 3 years. And he's like, dude, you're not going there. We're not doing it. Like, and I have somebody in my corner continually helping me to like improve my relationship with my wife, improve my relationship with my kids, improve my relationship with myself and God, and improve all of these different relationships. And the more I do that, the more I grow. And it's like, all right, take care of these things and I grow. Cool. Take care of these things and I grow. And it's not like my first conversation with him, I thought was going to be, all right, the tactics. And he's like, dude, let's not even worry about that. Get depressed? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, let's talk about suicide and depression for an hour. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Whoa.
And so,
Incredible.
yeah, he's helped me get out of my own way for the past few years. And as he's done it, like I've grown.
And if there's any lesson we can take away from that, it is just that there is an order to these things, right? Yeah. There is an order. And if you're someone listening and you're on step 9, figuring out the tactics, you need to look at steps 1 through 8 because it's all about you, right? Like back it up. And right. If you need to hire someone to help you uncover those things, please do it because that will speed up the process tenfold. Yeah. Preston, I am so grateful for how you have just exposed the reality of growth and optimism and fire and marriage and trauma and all the things. Thank you so much for your openness today.
I'm nothing if not an open book. So thank you for having me. This was fun.
It's brilliant. So in regular podcast fashion, I have a couple of questions that I love to kind of wrap up and ask every single guest. Okay. So let me first start with what hopefully is an easy one, right? And that is for you and your business, what do the next 30, 60, or 90 days look like for you?
So it's tax season. So the next 30 days is getting returns done. It is literally head down, working 12-hour days, 13-hour days, and just doing returns. So it's not the 100-hour weeks I used to do when I work for somebody else or even myself, but that's the next 30 days. The next 60 is vacation.
Good.
And then it's regrouping. It's like at that point it's regrouping, coming back as a team, debriefing, seeing how the tax season went. Seeing what went well, seeing what didn't. We're probably going to send out like a survey to clients saying, hey, how can we do better? Like expose ourselves and say like, all right, where were we good? Where were we bad? And just continually trying to improve.
Brilliant. That seems like a great 90-day window for you guys. All right. Next is, what is a book that every single person should read?
Gap in the Gain.
Gap in the Gain. Oh, yeah. That is a good one. Brilliant.
Have you read it?
I have read it. Yes. I'm a Ben Hardy fan, just in general. So yeah. Read all the things. The second is, what is an item on your bucket list that you have not yet done?
Been to Israel. I want to go see where Jesus walked and died, was resurrected.
Did you know my dad was the branch president of Galilee?
I did not.
We have things to talk about. We will. Okay. So many stories there. Okay. And then the last question might be tender for you, but as you look as if you are at the end of your life, what do you hope your family says about you?
That I was a light, that I was a disciple of Christ, a good husband and a good father. That's it.
Gosh, because what else matters?
Yeah, I don't think anything does.
Well, we have been so fed today. I am so grateful for your light. That is the reason you are here, is because of your light. I didn't know a ton about you, but the light was there, right? The light was there that you had something to share. And I am so grateful for your openness. So thank you so much again for sharing the Unreasonable Autonomy Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Unreasonable Autonomy Podcast. If you loved this episode, my guests and I would love to hear about it. Go to the show notes to reach out and let me know what resonated with you or what topics or guests you want to hear in the future. I am here to create for you. Look, I deeply admire your commitment to pushing boundaries and going after an unreasonable life. Keep dreaming big, taking bold steps, and expecting the unreasonable. For more, go to the show notes to dive deeper into the conversations that will keep you going. Thanks for being here.